Welcome into the PHNX Suns podcast, brought to you by our friends at the DraftKings Sportsbook app, America's top-rated sportsbook app. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and leave us a 5-star review. I'm Lindsey Smith, here with Saul Bookman, Gerald Bourguet, and Espo. Gentlemen, you feeling all right? You ready for another playoff preview?
Yeah!
All right.
Woo! Let's go!
That's the energy that I need you all to bring every single night. I absolutely need that.
Sometimes the warmth of this room can rock you to sleep.
It is really warm in here.
It's too early to be sleepy. I was going to say what time it is, but...
I feel like there's never a time that is off limits to be sleepy.
I was about to say, you just said those words and you forgot, who our host is. She can sleep 24/7.
Fair enough.
All right, guys. Today we are going to preview a potential Suns-Spurs first-round matchup. So the Spurs finished the regular season with a 34-48 record. The Suns went 4-0 against them for the sweep of the season. To me, this is one of the easiest routes for the Suns. Gentlemen, in your opinion, what are some reasons the Suns will win this
Christ,
series?
I can't wait to hear about the ghosts of the past coming back into somebody's head to talk about, it's still Greg Popovich. I don't care about
Why
the
do you got
Spurs.
to do Gerald like that? I mean, the dude is just sitting here.
Why you got to do Gerald like that?
Y'all just came for each other in the first 3 minutes. And we
I
need
didn't
to
come after
reset?
anybody. Espo was going at Gerald. Now Gerald is going
You
at
came for
Espo.
Espo first.
I didn't come for anybody.
You
I was a
started it.
generality.
You knew who you were.
I was a general. Matter of fact, I heard about that this morning when I was driving in on the radio. It's still Greg Popovich, and I was like, I almost swerved out the road. Get the fuck out of here.
What year is it?
Look. Yes, this is the easiest of the paths here, in particular because the Spurs suck. This is the team that is lucky to be invited to the dance. All right, they're me in high school going to prom. All right, they're lucky to be invited.
The
man.
girls all the time.
Self-deprecating Spurs humor.
It's just accurate. It's just accurate. All right.
One of these episodes, I'm going to hunt down and do some research and find girlfriends of the past and find out if this really happened.
I went to 5 proms, none of which were romantic. It was all friends or helping a friend out.
How'd you go for 5?
How long were you in high school for?
12 years. I have not graduated yet.
5 out of 12 ain't bad.
You're almost at 50%, man.
Hey, look at that. We can do the math later.
Glass half full.
That's
There
not what
you
the
go.
people are here for. I can explain and break things down for you later. A lot of not my school proms, other proms, 2 in 1 year, that kind of thing. Anyways, the Spurs suck was the point I was making. And look, this is not a legitimate team. They're the benefactor of the play-in tournament and the idea that we need more drama at the end of the season. They have no business even having a shot to be the 8th seed in the Western Conference. It's nice that they get to be there, but I'm not concerned. I don't even think they get out of their first game. So what I'm saying is you don't have to watch the rest of this video.
I mean, let's be real.
Please do, but
I really
I just
don't. You can just turn it off right now. Just end the stream.
I'm rolling over.
Let's be real. They're the benefactor of the Lakers not making the playoffs. A team that everybody expected to make the playoffs or at least a play-in at some point just completely fell off the earth. Oh, fell off the girth, I should say. And
Ouch.
There it is. That's the reason why the Spurs are here.
Yeah, I think in terms of there's been a lot of conversation about how fun the play-in game is, but also there needs to be a threshold that you need to meet. You need to be within a certain number of games away from the 8 seed to trigger the play-in game. And I think that's an interesting conversation because if you look at the standings, the Pelicans are 8 games back of the Clippers for 8th. The Spurs are 8 games back of the Pelicans are 6 games back. Spurs are 8 games back. They're only in this because they got a courtesy invite because they needed the play-in. But that was the same thing with the Suns in the bubble. So as much as we want to bash on the Spurs right now because it's our innate nature.
That was a completely very unique situation. I don't think you can compare the two. And also a big reason why they had to bring the Spurs was because they wanted the Pelicans in there.
Right. Well, the reason also that listen, these play-in games are a result or a byproduct of what happened in the bubble.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's why the Spurs got this opportunity, because the Suns, who met this threshold, whatever it was, and they had a bad record too at the time before they got to the bubble.
Mm-hmm.
Like they got the courtesy, they got in, and they did the most with it. That's why these play-in tournaments, just like the NCAA tournament, you have teams that win their conferences because they get hot right at the right time, even though they have 9 wins and 20 losses on the season, but you just never know. And so I'm okay with it. I like the play-in.
Look, I know the Spurs are not going 8-0 at any point during this play-in and postseason. They will not be the Suns like the Suns were in Orlando.
No, the point just stands that I think Saul made after what happened with the Suns getting invited as I think they had the 21st record out of the 22 teams that went to the bubble. They were a courtesy invite to have enough number of teams, and then they did what they did, and I think that made it more exciting and more possible for a team like the Spurs or the Pelicans to be in the play-in automatically without having to be, a certain threshold that you have to trigger it. I do think the Spurs are, they're 14 games under 500. They're average in offensive and defensive rating, but the Suns are just lights out better team. Even if their 4 games against this team, all wins, were a little bit closer than maybe the final scores indicated.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I also just going back to this play-in idea. Not every team that's 6 games below the Clippers or 8 games below is the same. And when I say that, I mean, like, look at the Pelicans, which we'll get into later.
Mm-hmm.
That's a different team than they were at the beginning of the year because of CJ McCollum. Ingram's feeling better. He's going to probably play in the playoffs, and maybe Zion possibly coming back. That's a scarier team that you wouldn't have thought was going to be scary 2-3 months ago.
Right.
So, not all bad teams are created equally, like the Lakers and the Pelicans.
It's fair.
For me, I think you're going to laugh at this one, Saul, because I'm going to lean into not the Popovich side of things. But with the Spurs, I think the reason why the Suns will win the series is because freaking karma, okay? Like, karma needs to make good this time around. It needs to be the easiest sweep in NBA history in a playoff series because revenge of teams in the past.
So who is Jay?
Like, karma owes us one.
Who is Jay Crowder hip checking is what I'm asking now.
And as long as he doesn't get suspended, I mean, that's fine.
Yeah.
Like,
DeJounte Murray.
I mean, all I'm saying
Still,
is,
you almost have to hip check 2 guys because the Spurs don't have anybody good enough to warrant making up for what happened to the Suns.
I mean, I'm not saying that we need to, like, violence for violence, an eye for an eye. I'm just
sounded
saying,
like that, Lindsay.
I'm saying a 4-game super easy blowout sweep, and
Yes.
I will be happy. That's revenge enough in my book. I don't think we need to go straight for
Maybe Monty will hip check Pop.
okay.
That'll put him out of commission.
They're both older. You don't want to break hips. Like,
Yeah.
That's just
He's not that old.
Just run it back like
Pop's a little
2010. Sweep him again.
Pop is definitely old, but Monty's not in the same realm as Pop.
that's
for sure.
that's true.
Yeah.
Seeing as
It's like
Pop
30
actually coached
He's
Monty.
like 30 years younger.
All right, guys. X factors.
Well,
What do you think?
I do want to say one thing about the Spurs and why they're not a great matchup, aside from the fact that they're just kind of average. Second worst team in mid-range defense from a field goal percentage perspective. We talked about this on the Clippers preview. Like, the Suns are elite from that area of the floor. The Spurs won't be able to guard them from that area. And the Spurs don't present a lot of the problems that have given the Suns fits, like offensive rebounding. They're only 28th in second chance points, and they're 26th in opponent points in the paint. So the Suns are going to be able to have maybe more of a size advantage and being able to get into the paint against this particular team.
The X factor for me will always be Pop, just because he's
Pop, the ghost of the past.
Yeah, what happened?
Hot meat kettle.
I didn't say I'm worried about him. I didn't say I'm worried about the Spurs at all. I'm just saying, like, if there was an X factor, it's Pop, because he is creative. He's going to find some matchups that are, going to put the Suns in a little bit of a disadvantage. But the Suns are so good that they're gonna figure it out and they'll be fine. So, for those stretches of the game. Listen, for Pop and any good coach that knows that they are severely undermanned against another team, it's not only who you put in at what time, but it's also when you pull the trigger on key pieces of your offense or defense to just throw the other team off enough for you to get the most gain from an advantage, right? And so with Pop, he's very good at that. He just knows when to call a timeout at the most annoying fucking time because the Suns are about to get on a run. Timeout, just every single time like clockwork. And that's what makes Pop one of the greatest coaches in NBA history. So for me, he's the only X factor because nobody else has any business being an X factor on the Spurs.
Yeah. Churros and COVID are my X factors. You either it's only overeating or somebody major getting
COVID.
You're either getting fat or you're losing all your weight.
Look, about the point simply is it's not the Spurs that would take out the Suns. It would be other factors that would give the Spurs an opportunity.
On the injury report, Chris Paul out. Churros.
Exactly.
I'm glad you went churros and COVID because if you did COVID and churros, one could very easily take away the other.
Yeah, it's not a good mix. You got to go churros first. Yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna go with the more basketball one.
So you're not going with the women in San Antonio like Charles Barkley?
I'm gonna go with points in the paint because
Thank God for Gerald.
I really should have gone first. I'm going to go with points in the paint. Spurs are second in points in the paint. Suns are fourth. The Spurs are 26th in opponent points in the paint, but the Suns are 8th in opponent points in the paint. So Suns much better at limiting opponents at scoring inside, but also the Spurs have the third best field goal percentage at the rim defensively. So as much as they give up points in the paint, they are good at defending those shots. So it'll be interesting to see how that would play out. But I do believe we have a guest.
All right. Perfect timing. Let's welcome in our guest for today's show, Tom Petrini, digital content for KENS5 and host of the Big Fundamental Spurs podcast. Tom, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate you taking some time out of your day. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, guys. You can hear me okay?
Oh, yes.
We can. Yeah. Thank you.
Great.
So we'll start off with just a little bit of an overview here for folks who maybe haven't watched the Spurs too much this season. What should we be aware of with this team?
Well, I'd imagine it's most people across the country. I think their first playing game will be their second nationally televised game of the year this season. But they fight hard. If you ask anybody about this team, especially Greg Popovich, he'll be the first to tell you. Best thing about them is no matter who they're playing against, no matter what the score is, this team has a lot of fight. And that's been a really fun thing to watch throughout the entire year. The feeling is that they're better than their record. They're, 14 games under 500, and they've got a positive net rating. So not a lot of blowout losses. A bunch of blowout wins, and they just set the NBA record all time for best assist to turnover ratio. So this is a team that takes care of the ball despite having a lot of young players.
Going back to this Spurs team and their matchup against the Pelicans specifically, how do you like the matchup, and what are you looking forward to tomorrow night?
I'm looking forward to seeing these guys continue to fight. They're actually 3-1 against the Pelicans this year, so they've got a shot. And I've just been watching this Pelicans run, and they look like they're having a ton of fun. And I mean, what fun to be a Pelicans fan where they put a top 10 protection on the pick that they traded away from that Anthony Davis deal, and they're having a good laugh about that. It's all gravy for them. I think that this Pelicans team, it's going to be a tough game because with the addition of McCollum, they're playing some really good basketball. But the Spurs, for about a month-long stretch here in March into April, they beat the Lakers and Pop tied Don Nelson for the most regular season wins by any coach in NBA history, including that win. From that win to when they eliminated the Lakers from the play-in contention, they went 10-5, and they've been playing some of their best basketball. So, there was a time a about a month ago when, if you asked me, do you even want the Spurs to win the play-in games, I would have said, absolutely not. Keep that lottery pick and, don't screw that up. But they've been playing in such a way that makes you say, you know what, whatever the universe has got, give it to me. I just want to see what they do. I'm looking forward to, win or lose, watching this team navigate a win or go home game. That's been the key for them.
You mentioned how much fun that the Pelicans are having. Does Pop allow that in San Antonio?
Not for him. When he broke the record, the video's hilarious and amazing. They all mob him on the court. They're jumping up and down. They're playing Post Malone congratulations, and he's laughing. He's like, all right, let's go. And then, storms off the court into the locker room. He's gone. But Pop himself is having fun with these guys coaching. That's something that he's talked about a lot is, Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, I didn't have to coach those guys at a certain point, give the ball to Timmy. There wasn't much for him to do. And now he has to actually teach the game to these kids. And that's a challenge that he has been really loving. And, these players are great vibes. I mean, Keldon Johnson is always screaming about something. DeJounte Murray grown into a leadership role. And they seem to genuinely really like playing together with each other. So yeah, they are having some fun, but not too much. There's some teams out there that they're definitely having a little too much fun, and the Spurs are not one of them. They know that there's a lot in front of them. And yeah, this season has been maybe a little bit better than the sort of low expectations for the team coming in, but they got a long way to go before they're back to, perennial title contenders again.
Tom, you mentioned that the Spurs have gone 10-5 since that win that put Greg Popovich on top of the all-time coaching list. I'm just curious, from a player perspective, or is there someone in particular that helped turn that around, and how do you see the Spurs matching up with the Suns if they were able to win both play-in games and secure that 8th seed?
It's been a combination of different guys. I think that obviously the all-star DeJounte Murray, he's been playing some of his best basketball of the season in that stretch. He missed a couple of games with a non-COVID respiratory illness, but got back in the game against the Mavericks last night just to get some run, some conditioning. First player in NBA history to average over 20 points, 9 assists, and 8 rebounds per game, and 2 steals per game. And really the thing with him is three-point shooting. And not only has his percentage been better in the last month or so, he's shown a willingness to pull up from deep off a screen, step back threes, stuff that really wasn't in his bag that he's now trying. Also, Keldon Johnson, who has probably been, probably the second most important Spur this year, him and Jakob Poeltl, two very important players. But Keldon, the last 9 games that he's played, over 20 points. And he's a guy who, really young player, really, like I said, screaming all the time, loves to get into the lane. And it was his first summer league. He got an N1 layup and just flexed and screamed "big body" in the camera. And that became his nickname here, one of them. And but really this year we've seen him transform his game to where he's not just like a bull in a china shop, and he's like one of the more accurate 3-point shooters in the league. It's not going to be the step back off the dribble stuff, but his ability to space the floor has really opened up his complete game and provided a legitimate secondary scoring option on the wing next to DeJounte Murray.
All right, well, here's where we find out if you're a realist or a dreamer. If this is a Suns Spurs first round matchup, what's your prediction?
I would say probably Suns in 5, maybe 6.
You had to say 5. You had to say 6.
I did. I had to say, because, if you're asking for my honest opinion, I think that the Spurs will have at least one game where they either surprise the Suns or, just overperform. They have a puncher's chance. They have, they've played up to competition this year. They have wins over Milwaukee, Golden State twice, Boston twice, Denver twice, Utah twice. They've had trouble with some of the less good teams, and kind of signs of a growing, developing team. I don't think there's anybody in San Antonio who would realistically predict that the Spurs would win this series. The Suns, I'll be honest, I haven't watched too much Suns basketball all year. I know they're very good. I've watched enough to know that they're very, very good. And really the key thing for the Suns in this series is that the Spurs no longer have DeAndre Ayton killer Drew Eubanks in the roster. So, I mean, I don't think that they were thinking about that when they made that move in the middle of the season. Well, what if we play Phoenix? Oh, man, you're right. But I just think that, if you look at the cost balance, right, like there's a lot of people who don't even want to see a first round Spurs fans who don't want to see a first round series because it's kind of a foregone conclusion what would happen. And if they don't make the playoffs, they're looking at a 20% shot at a top 4 pick. But I don't need to tell you guys, the impact that having, a successful run like the Suns had in the bubble, where it was like, okay, we can actually we can play with some of these teams. We've got something here. There's something to be said for that. So, whatever happens, I would be really excited to see DeJounte Murray and Chris Paul go at it for a couple games. I mean, that would be fun to watch for me. The question really is who guards Devin Booker, and that's a tough one to answer. But yeah, no, I don't think I've got no illusions in my mind that the Suns would lose this series unless something catastrophic happens. But I also think that, if the Spurs wind up in this, because if they get to the playoffs, they're going to have no incentive to lose, right? The players in the court have no incentive to lose at any point. But if they get there, it's going to be pretty much full steam ahead, and just give it their best shot. And if they expectedly fall short, I don't think anybody in San Antonio would be like, they I thought they had this one. There's none of that here. But there is this feeling that the Spurs are better than their record shows. And they've got a whole bunch of young guys who really want to prove something. They asked Keldon Johnson after the game last night, how many games are you packing for? And he's like, 4, like we don't want to go home. And, however you feel about the draft lottery and all of that stuff, it's hard to knock these guys for their willingness to keep battling.
We can understand that as well from your end of things. Tom, thank you so much for joining us. If it does happen to be a Suns and Spurs series, we are going to need some recommendations on places to hit up out in your neck of the woods for our guy Gerald over here as we send him out to San Antonio. Okay.
Yes. Yes. I know you guys have pretty decent Mexican food over there, but yeah, we'll show you how we do it in San Antonio.
Awesome. Thank you.
No Tex-Mex, man. No Tex-Mex. Come on now.
Hey, there's plenty of good stuff. I just need to find a good Italian place. It's my thing. But
okay. Tom, we appreciate your time. Everybody be sure to follow him on Twitter at Real Tom Petrini. We will see you next time. Have a great day.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
All right, gentlemen, we all know NBA playoffs means next level basketball. Get ready for all the action by betting the play-in tournament with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. New customers can bet $5 on any team to win and get $150 in free bets instantly. You clinch a win no matter what. All DraftKings Sportsbook customers can also bet on NBA hoops with same-game parlays. And for each day of the play-in, get a risk-free bet up to $10 if your same-game parlay doesn't hit. So now is a great time to get in on the action with the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Go download that app right now. Make sure you're using the promo code PHNX. Bet $5 on any NBA team to win their game during the play-in tournament and get $150 in free bets instantly. That is promo code PHNX at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Just a reminder, that is 21 and older only, Arizona only. Gambling problem, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. New customers only, minimum $5 minimum deposit. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details.
Lindsay, who are you putting your money on in the play-in games?
The Spurs.
You like losing money.
What a nice answer.
I think I'm putting my money on the Spurs because I would like the Spurs to win. I wouldn't be mad at that. So
DraftKings appreciates that.
I know. They're probably like, we like people like you, Lindsay.
Do it.
Easy money.
She puts her money where her heart is, not where her head is. All right, gentlemen. Potential problems, maybe, that we could see in a series between the Suns and the Spurs. What are some areas of concerns for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I'll start first because I think you look at the Suns' 4-0 record against the Spurs, and it was a clean sweep. You expect the same thing here. But a lot of those games were close until the fourth quarter. There was the one game where Devin Booker needed 48 for them to pull away in the fourth. There was the one game where they needed to switch to Ish Wainwright at the 5. And then they outscored them. I think it was 36-19 in the fourth quarter because of that switch. But up to that point, the Spurs were in control, and a lot of these games were close. So I think what Tom was talking about how this team doesn't suffer a lot of blowout losses, I think if we were coming into a game or a series against the Spurs and expecting them to just rout them every time, we might be a little surprised at the pushback that this team shows because they are a young team. They are a scrappy team. If they go 2-0 in the play-in games, they would have nothing to lose. Their season is already a success just from snagging the 8 seed and getting to play a team like the Suns. So I think that they would be kind of a pesky bunch. I still think the Suns would win, but they're 8th in second chance points, so keeping them off the glass would be key. They're 9th in fast break points, and they're 2nd in points in the paint, like we talked about. So you would definitely need to take care of business on the interior. That's a little easier, as he joked, without Drew Eubanks to worry about for DA. But this team is a little bit peskier than I think they'd be given credit for in this series.
Well, and there's zero pressure on them.
Right.
So, like, if they make it to the first round of the playoffs, there's no pressure for them to win any of these games. So they're playing pretty freely.
Yeah, look, the only potential problem to me is if the Spurs wear those Fiesta uniforms on the same night the Suns wear their orange ones. This is not a series where the Suns will see any problems. The Spurs are the definition of an average team. They were 17th in net rating in offense, 16th in net rating in defense. I don't see any path to victory or any path to a problem for the Suns against the Spurs team. I don't see it. Greg Popovich, like Saul said, is the only X factor, and I don't even know that his ability to scheme and figure out things and make adjustments is enough to get the Spurs a win in this series.
I mean, the only worrisome part for this series would be things that are beyond your control, an injury, somebody gets sick, COVID, whatever the case may be. Outside of that, there ain't shit helping the Spurs against the Suns. That's just how it is.
I think DeJounte Murray is someone to keep an eye out on. I don't think he's enough to swing a series. However, he could be enough to swing a game. Against the Suns this season, he's averaged 17.7 points, 8 rebounds, and 9.7 assists. And as Tom said, he has been playing some of his best basketball as of late. Mm-hmm. But like I said, one game may be enough. A whole series, definitely not enough.
With those stats, that wouldn't be enough at all.
Yeah, who's scoring the other 87 points for him?
He would have to drop. He would have to average in the 30s to keep his team in these games. And I know they've been close games, but again, we're talking playoff basketball. We're talking teams locked down in the playoffs, and things get tighter, and your freedom of movement gets significantly shorter. So that's something else that this young team has never really had to face because they haven't made the playoffs in several years. So I'm not concerned at all about this.
Right. From an execution standpoint, the Spurs have executed well against the Suns, and obviously we've talked a lot about Pop, but at some point the talent discrepancy would matter. You need to have the best player in a series to have a chance usually. And the Suns have the best 2 to 3 to maybe 4 players depending on how DeJounte Murray plays. Like, Murray is an all-star, but if Mikal Bridges locks him up, they run out of options really quick.
Mm-hmm. All right, time for Traveling Girth. Best parts and worst parts about having to travel to San Antonio.
Churros and COVID. You can have a churro, but it's Texas, so COVID.
I'm almost kind of debating whether or not we should send you to San Antonio.
Please send me to San Antonio.
I just came back from there a couple weeks ago. It's not very great. I wasn't a big fan. I lived there for 7 years.
Oh, that's right, you did.
Yeah, it was just meh.
There's a Six Flags there.
There is a Six Flags there.
It's not very good.
I'm an old soul at heart, so I'll do the Riverwalk once, and then I'll have some food and cover a playoff
as
series.
much as I'd like to give Espo grief, I also have churros on my list of cons for San Antonio.
Oh, wait, cons?
No, sorry, pros.
I was going to say.
I've been getting these wrong all day. Churros on my list of pros.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
On my list of cons, getting stuck behind the train on your way to the arena, because then you have to sit there for like 40 minutes.
No, really?
Yes, you got to time that out, because it's the only way, as far as I know, into the arena is crossing train tracks. And if you get stuck, you're going to be just sitting there. So
unless you come in on the south side.
So leave with plenty of time
plan
to
ahead
spare.
for that.
Okay.
And then also another con is there could be bats in the arena. The last time I went to San Antonio, there were multiple bats in the arena. So just keep an eye out for
Was that the game where Manu Ginobili swatted one out of the air?
Against the Kings.
Okay.
Yeah, so, just something
Don't
to
ask
keep
me
an
why I
eye out on.
remember that.
Maybe wear a scarf. I don't know.
Okay.
Just throwing that out.
Just
there.
go Ozzy
Bats.
Osbourne.
They're not vampire bats, Lindsay.
It's a joke, Saul.
So,
Maybe wear a scarf.
Joke.
so if I see Robert Pattinson just chilling in the media area, I'm going to know what's up.
It's so cold in here.
Was that
I have vengeance.
was that a Batman joke or was that,
That was a Batman joke, yeah.
Okay, it wasn't a Twilight joke. All right.
Oh, I guess it could have been
could
either
have been
one.
either.
Could have
That's
been either
right.
one.
It's about Twilight,
Yeah.
to be honest with you.
Could have been
Totally
either
different.
one.
Yeah.
Well, good luck if you have to go to San Antonio.
Yeah, I will say this about San Antonio. There are some food spots, but they're away from the arena, like far away from downtown. So hopefully you meet a friend. 'Cause,
Hitchhike.
I'm not paying for that Uber.
Fair.
All right, so I'm pretty sure I know what all of our predictions are going to be for this series, but think about it while I tell the people about the newest partner that we have in the house. We're so excited to welcome OG's Brands into the PHNX family. OG's is one of Arizona's first scratch-made cannabis kitchens and is dedicated to creating innovative and memorable cannabis-infused products that flavor life's journey. Their motto is flavoring life, and that's something that we can all get behind. OG's seeks to focus on life's opportune moments to consume their products. For them, those occasions are laid back and relaxing, whether it's being with friends, connecting with nature, or embarking on a new adventure. If you'd like to try OG's and all of the amazing products they have, be sure to head over to ogsbrands.com. That's OGEEZ brands.com to find an OG's near you. They have a ton of different flavors that I hear are super tasty. So no matter what style of edible you are looking for, they've got it for you. I also want to remind everybody listening that children 5 and older are eligible for the COVID-19 vaccine. The vaccine is the best tool we have to reduce the chances of getting sick with COVID-19. The COVID-19 vaccine can reduce the risk of being hospitalized or dying from the disease. Safe, free, and highly effective COVID-19 vaccines are available throughout Arizona. Visit azhealth.gov/find-vaccine for a location near you.
Lindsay, if your personality were an edible, what would the flavor be?
That's a good question.
That is a good question.
Definitely something sour.
Yeah.
But like sweet as well. But like sour.
I was going to say salty.
Like a Sour
Now I'm
Patch
catching
Kid.
strays from Shane.
I was going to say salty.
No, that was not a stray. That was a lined up shot.
That's true. Yeah, I could do like a Sour Patch Kid. Like first you're sour, then you're sweet. Because I do come in hot, but then I'm like, I'm just kidding. I love you.
I must not have got to the sweet
After
part.
their interiors.
That's season 2. So
Saul's chewing on this edible like, when's the sweet going to hit?
Man, this is bitter as hell right now. What the hell's going on?
Yeah, that's season 2, like Gerald said. All right, guys. So predictions for this series? I feel like we're going to all be in agreement
I am not
here.
going to say those stupid ass words, so I'll just say sweep.
I'll say the stupid ass words in the
Oh,
words of
no,
our favorite
no,
/ least
no.
favorite Suns fan, Suns and 4.
the Phoenix Suns are the best team in the NBA. Suck it, Manu. Suck it, Tim Duncan. Suck it, Robert Horry. It's a sweep.
I'm in full agreement with you guys. As much as we tried to make a case for the Spurs in this one and bring some things that the Spurs do well. I don't think that they're going to be able to really pick up a game here in this series. So Suns in 4.
Let's hope the Suns approach the series with more maturity than Saul and Espo hearing the words doo-doo.
What's so funny is as soon as I heard you say it, I looked over and I started to say it, and he's already shaking his head because he already knew it was coming out of my mouth.
I'm already like, damn it, they're going to react to that.
I got the smile and I was like, it's over. I'm laughing.
All right. Well, that one was fun. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate you guys as always. You can follow me on Twitter at Lindsey Smith AZ. You can follow Saul at Saul_Bookman. You can follow Gerald at Gerald Bourguet. And of course, you can follow Espo at Espo. Espo, take us home.
Remember, it's churros and COVID, not COVID and churros. Ahoy, hoy.